Angosia 3 is a little stuffy for Riker's taste. A prisoner has escaped from a penal colony on Lunar 5, and Roga Danar's first instructor called himself a counselor. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today, you may have guessed, we are doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 11, The Hunted, written by Robin Bernheim, directed by Cliff Bowl, our pal. This was January 8th, 1990. Put your Oakleys away. Where were you? What's up, Sirach? How are you today?
I'm all right. I'm good.
All right. Before we get it too far into this episode, everybody, this is your last chance to go to Trek to San Francisco. Creation Entertainment presents Trek to San Francisco, hashtag STSF, dozens of Star Trek guests, including, you're not going to believe this, Sirach Lofton. Come on. Sirach Lofton's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Melissa Longo's going to be there. A lot of our friends and family are going to be there. Lots of cool Trek celebrities. Tons of fun. Go to creationent.com. That's creationent.com. But you got to hurry. This is March 8th through 10th in San Francisco area, right across the street, basically, from the San Francisco airport. It's in Burlingame at the Hyatt Regency. Check it out. You got to go. Get yourself tickets. Get there early. March 7th. We will see you there. Be there or be one side of a Borg cube.
That's a square.
Hey, we did it. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
All right.
All right.
STSF coming soon.
Real soon. So, this is an episode, Sirach, that I do remember. You know, a lot of these I don't even have the faintest memory of. This one I do remember. I don't remember how it ended. I don't remember what happened really, but I remember this guy. I remember the Outrageous Okana version 2, basically. I feel like, and there was a Deep Space Nine episode that was like this too, where there's a rogue guy that escapes and he like falls in love with Kira or something like that. Remember that guy? And so when Deanna Troi went and started talking to him, I was like, oh wait, is this gonna be like she falls in love with the bad boy thing, kind of like Kira did with that one guy? Everybody in the comments below, please remind us, who was that guy that showed up like Okana version 3 and was like, showed up in Ops and was like, I'm such a tough guy. I'm such a dark, edgelord. And she's like in love with him or something. But I don't know. What did you think of this? What did you think of Roga Danar? He sure could fight.
Man, he was kicking everybody's ass. He just need a couple of those guys. I was like, I saw Colin Meaney. I was like, poor Colin. He doesn't get into that many episodes. When they finally bring him back and he gets his ass kicked in the transporter room.
Can we talk about that battle scene? That was one of the most typical Star Trek battles, melees, let's call it a melee, I've ever seen, because it had, Chief O'Brien put him in like a wrist lock, which was pretty cool. I was like, whoa. And then the guy was like, he came at the two security guys and like thought he was an offensive lineman. Like, and then they took
it looked like a WWF, like a whole WWF scenario. Like I was
totally
waiting for the top ropes to just jump off and give him the.
Well, actually, funny you should say that, because the stunt coordinator's assistant on this episode was Randy Macho Man Savage. Everybody knows.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Dig it. Everybody knows. His brother was Leaping Lanny Poffo. Leaping Lanny Poffo is Randy Savage's brother.
Yeah, I don't think everybody knows that. But no, I actually enjoyed this episode. It was very clever, and one of the things that was appealing to me was how this Roga Danar guy was able to outsmart the Enterprise. Pretty much this collective group of the smartest people in the Federation, or one of them, and including Data, who is a walking computer. So the fact that he was a step ahead of them, always deceiving them, always kind of outmaneuvering the Federation, or in this case the Enterprise, that was interesting to me, and it made for an episode where I couldn't predict what was about to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen in this episode.
Yeah, and it was cool that the TNG crew was figuring out his methods, his strategies, but he was still staying ahead. Like, remember the second time he tries to ram the ship or he does whatever, but Data says something like, I've extrapolated his strategy from past experience or from past whatever. Mm-hmm. And so that was cool because it shows it's not just this guy's just doing the same trick and they keep falling for it. He does a trick, it works. He does it again, they don't fall for it. They catch him, but then he's still a step ahead. He's still, moving, which is great because that's in the game of life, in the game of chess. That's how things work. You have to keep adjusting your strategy because they're going to figure out the patterns. So I thought that was probably the best aspect of this episode, personally.
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of I was reminded of was not too long ago in the news. I would say less than 5 years ago, which is well after this episode aired. But less than 5 years ago, I recall hearing in the news somewhere that there was an attempt to make these genetically modified soldiers, whether they were in, I believe it was the Chinese were being accused of it at the time in the headlines, but somebody was being accused of developing a program to make better soldiers,
super
like
soldiers.
this genetic modification, super soldiers. Yeah, and so I was reminded of that as well watching this episode.
Yeah, that's interesting because every country will tell you that's what they do, but what we're talking about is on a completely different level. But that's what they say. They break you down to build you back up, and so they're basically trying to turn you into a killing machine. You need to be cold and calculated, and these militant people will tell you that when they're in a military situation, they have to like kind of turn off all that extra stuff and just be super focused, where they're just like, precision accuracy. They have to be cold. They have to be computer like and calculated. And there are a lot of people that are not able to do that kind of thing. They let emotions get in the way. They can't make split-second decisions. They have fear, like we all do, and that's why they need to be programmed, in their estimation, is to eliminate all that stuff. So yeah, I could believe it. It sounds vaguely familiar what you're saying, but these guys aren't just mentally and emotionally, but physically. He's an amazing fighter, as evidenced again by, just to finish up on that battle scene, because I was like, this is the most Star Trek battle scene I've ever seen, because you've got the hammer lock, you've got the guy, he's taking it outside. They're going in another battle. They have phaser shots. Everybody always gets shot in the shoulder. No, I want to see somebody get shot in the face and be like, oh, but it's always in the shoulder. Sometimes like right here around the kidney area. And then apparently his weapon is on stun too, so that's fine. And O'Brien's okay. And then Worf runs in, tackles the guy, but he tackles the guy and has the guy land on top of him. I'm like, that is very considerate of Worf, where it's like, I want to tackle this guy that's killing people,
but I'll break your fall.
but yeah, but I want to land on the bottom so that you don't get hurt. I don't want to harm you. I want to make sure that, and then Data or no,
Yeah,
Riker rolls on top of him too. And I was like, this is the funniest. This is the most Star Trek battle scene. I wanted to watch it like 5 times, but I didn't have the time for it. It was
yeah,
just, it was amazing. I wanted to watch it in slow motion and hear like the Benny Hill music on it.
yeah. That was an interesting battle scene. One of the things that really wasn't explained too much was how he was impervious to the stun gun. I guess the settings were too low or whatnot. Is that what they were trying to allude to or something?
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, the stun. Remember, he had a gun too that didn't do anything to O'Brien, so his stun was set to really low, so he wasn't trying to hurt anybody. And then O'Brien, but they could turn it up a little bit to where it's like you're not killing
Yeah,
him, but you are actually knocking him out. I thought that was kind of the point of those things, right?
that's what I thought too. But apparently he was resistant to that, so they didn't really get into explaining that too much. But you would think that that kind of enhancement or technology, because this civilization didn't seem to be more advanced than the Federation. They actually presented them as less advanced than the Federation, right?
Yeah.
They talked about our capabilities. We don't have the capabilities to retrieve him because he's somehow caused too much havoc, and their ships don't travel at warp speed, or the particular one he was in. So my assumption was that this the Angosians were like more behind technologically than the
Mm-hmm.
Federation,
Yeah.
which is interesting because this medical enhancement of this soldier would be a display of a higher level of sophistication or technology than the Federation, at least to some degree, than we are currently aware of. So I thought there was a little bit of a contrast in that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And that's something that's really cool about, I guess, real life, but certainly in Star Trek, is that you figure societies evolve technologically differently based on what they think is a priority to them. For example, in Ronald D. Moore's new show, For All Mankind, everybody go check that out, even though I haven't. But it's really good by all accounts. I've seen the first episode, it's excellent.
Yeah.
And we know he's an amazing writer. Is that the premise is that what if the space race never ended? The space race of the 50s and 60s between the USA and the USSR, right? What if it never ended? In this, um, different universe, alternate universe, if it never ended, then the Americans and the Russians were still forever fighting in the space race, which would mean that more resources would go into it, more. And then it wouldn't just have ended when the USA landed on the moon in 69. Then they would have done that. And then Russia would have been like, okay, we're going to be the first to land on Mars then. And then in like 75, they actually land on Mars. And then we go, okay, well, we're going to be the first to do, and then it's just going to keep pushing. So that at this point in 2024, we'd be
Yeah.
doing crazy stuff that we're not doing now, but we wouldn't have the same medical advancements. We wouldn't have the same, social media advancements. We wouldn't have the same societal advancements because we're putting our resources into something else. So maybe in
Mhm.
this case, these guys, it's kind of a similar thing to where they are evolving differently based on needs, based on wants, based on goals. But also, I agree, they're behind the Federation. Clearly, they seem to be behind in most ways. And then they have, and they look like humans, though. I was going to ask you that actually. Do you think they gave the makeup department the week off for this alien race?
Yeah, yeah, they were like the part of him that looks alien is underneath the clothing. So
I
That's
see.
that's the explanation for that.
They are the seven belly buttoned race. I've heard of them. I
Yes.
forgot that's these guys.
Yes.
Angosian
Yes.
means seven belly buttons in Angosian.
Yes. The Angosian umbilical cords are a delicacy in certain planets. But I did find an article dated in 2020, and it did say the future U.S. military super soldier may be closer than we think. So I did say about 5 years ago,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and this was actually talking about the U.S. super soldier. And to quote this article, it says the paper discussing this particular topic. The paper discusses the Defense Department Biotechnologies for Health and Human Performance Council (BHPC) study group that looked at emerging tech that could enhance human biological abilities across many areas of interest to the Defense Department. These included technological enhancements to vision, hearing, muscular control, and direct neural enhancements of the human brain for two-way data transfer. So this is something that's been discussed recently, like I said, in the last 5 years, when it comes to super soldiers.
So here's my question. How do I opt into all of that without joining the military? Because that sounds great.
You want better hearing and muscular
Yeah.
control.
And vision, I got like, I got to wear contact lenses. I got to do all these things. What I don't want, thank you very much, US government or Chinese government or whatever's doing this. What I don't want is increased smelling ability. I already smell humans enough. I don't need more. Thank you. In fact,
Uh,
dulling it a little bit might be just fine. I hold my breath every time somebody walks by me at the gym, just in case. But otherwise, that
well,
sounds pretty good.
that's that's funny. But I wouldn't mind the dulling of the smell, but I would want the increasing of the taste buds because taste buds are valuable for a good meal.
Yeah, but then we turn into foodies, and then we turn that can be really bad. It can get real dangerous real fast. Can you imagine if you're eating chocolate cake and you're just like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever had. I want to eat it 50 times right now."
Well, you'll need an enhancement for calorie burning. Add that to the list.
All right, that works actually.
But yeah, no, this was a good episode. The thing that I really noticed too is the acting was really good in this episode. I thought this Jeffrey McCarthy was really good at playing a conflicted character that had a goal, but also was communicative with
Mhm.
different people. There was a balance there where I saw him as a villain, but then I started to unsee him as a villain. And I thought that's a great performance because it's a very fine line performance wise as an actor to be able to pull that off where I don't fully hate you or I'm supposed to hate you, but I don't because of how you grow on people and how you state your case for what your motives are and what's your guiding kind of principles. So that was a good job by Jeffrey McCarthy for this particular episode. I thought he did a great job of walking that line of being somebody that you're supposed to fear and kind of loathe to becoming somebody that you're almost rooting for to some degree. I almost thought that Picard was going to let him escape. There was part of me that was thinking, oh, is Picard going to feel some type of way and say, you know what? There's a shuttle bay two is open if you just happen to,
No,
you know.
don't go to Shuttle Bay 2. That's the only one we've left unguarded. Don't you dare do that.
Exactly. Yes, there was a part of me thinking maybe they'll try to let him get away because they believe in his cause, but that would also mean that other people were going to die if they did assist him in letting people get away without, and just say, all right, that's none of our business. We'll move on. The fact that they kept involved uh, gave a great resolution to the episode, which is this kind of this forced meeting of the two disputing parties, and that made sense for me too. So as far as logic was concerned, the episode played out logically to me.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I wanted to add something to that where I was like, my little nerdy nitpicky brain was like, well, now hang on a second. But then I thought about it. I was like, no, they got that right. That worked. But I'll tell you what that is after our break, everybody, because
Teaser.
it was, you're right. It played out logically. Robin, the writer, Robin Bernheim,
Burner. Yeah.
kind of mapped it out well, I thought. So let's take a quick break and we will be right back. Oh, forgot to say, we might have a special treat for you all after the break as well. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Well, would you look at that? We have an amazing special guest today. What a treat. It is Jeff McCarthy. How are you today, Jeff?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm pleased and proud to be here.
Well, we are very happy. People right now are saying, whoa, is that Roga Danar, the one and only actual? Yes, it is him. So we're super excited for this. We can't wait to get into this conversation. So let's not wait. Do you remember the process of auditioning for this role? Were you a Star Trek fan ahead of time? Were you like, this is it? I can't wait. I'm super nerdy. I love Star Trek. I can't wait to get into this. Or were you like, yeah, it's another job and I nailed it?
It was another job, but I watched the first episode with my father. He loved the original Star Trek. I didn't really watch this was this the next one after the original?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But this was the third
season.
Third episode of Next Generation. I wasn't really familiar with it, but it was amazing to walk the sets and see all the Star Trek junk, that was around there. That was an amazing. Patrick Stewart and Marina Sirtis and all that. That was a great honor. Yeah. And I ran into her at a party about 2 months after we shot this and was blown away to learn how Cockney she is.
Yes.
That really amazed. But Patrick, I would see him around town at parties and stuff, and he was always very friendly. He was great. Yeah.
I want to compliment you, Mr. McCarthy, on the performance that you give in this episode. I think your performance carried the episode, made it very believable. I thought you played the conflicted person that you were in this episode really well. There was moments where I was cheering against you in the beginning, and then I kind of went towards your side by your argument.
Good. And you know who cast me in this? The creator of Star Trek. What's his name?
Gene Roddenberry.
Gene Roddenberry?
He was at the audition and the call, and he chose me personally. So, yay.
That's
Is he still
alive?
You guys know?
He's passed away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you really do.
In fact, yeah. But that's really amazing. If the creator
that.
is picking you, saying, "That's the guy I want." Do you remember what you did that was special about it, or did this just feel like a role that was made for you?
I'd done Les Miserables in L.A., and that got me a lot of attention. And I think it was shortly after the run of that. So I don't know whether Gene had seen that show out at the Schubert or what, but it was just a regular old audition, and thank God I got it. And the costume designer, Bob Blackman, was an old friend from ACT in San Francisco. So he, when I went to the fittings and everything, he and I were great old friends. That was a wonderful part of it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I love Bob Blackman. He's a legend in this business. And I mean, the gold standard of costume designing, in my opinion.
And he's done all of it, right? The movies and everything, I think. Yeah.
A lot of it. Just amazing talent. But, back to your performance, this episode, you're playing this super soldier, this genetically altered soldier who has been kind of removed to a penal colony kind of as punishment for being what you've been asked to be. And um, and the idea of being in this kind of isolation and this kind of a prison, even though it's supposedly comfortable prison, but still a prison nonetheless, is what begins your motivation to become rebellious in this episode and try to fight for your existence and for life. You mentioned that there was no way you wanted to return back to captivity, so this was an existential threat for your character.
It was very much returning Vietnam vets from Vietnam, that were treated like garbage when they came back because they were messed up by being in the military and being shot at and everything. It screwed with their brains. So that's what this episode was about, and I was very proud to be part of that. That's for sure.
That's what I wanted to identify and what resonated with me, because there are circumstances in which we find that this is the way veterans are treated, as kind of marginalized and outcast and not included into society because of the experiences that they were asked to perform. So I think that was one of the big things that, this post-traumatic, stress that you were dealing with, and how you were performing this internal struggle of, we know you're a good guy, but you're really forced to react to these unnecessary kind of inflicted circumstances. Really great performance on your part. I just wanted to make sure I got that compliment out.
With Marina Sirtis was helpful.
Oh yeah,
she's just gorgeous and charming and all that. So I mean, that anyway, I'm minimizing the point you're making.
Well, but the other thing is we don't see in many cases on Star Trek where the guest star has such a large role and is essentially the main feature of the story. You are the A story, and I don't even know if there's a B story.
Nope.
So yeah, we don't see in cases where you're getting more responsibility than the lead of the show. I think you're in more scenes than Patrick Stewart. So what's that like, walking onto a season 3 of a show, sci-fi, and now you're like literally the lead of the show?
Well, as I said, I hadn't been watching the series that much, so I didn't think of it in those terms. I just thought, well, I have this great guest star role, and I'll make the most of it that I can. But I wasn't aware that it was such a huge role relative to other episodes. Yeah, and it was great. Yeah, I had a great week there. That's for sure.
Now, Jeff, it's widely reported that the Next Generation set had a lot of shenanigans. Did you see any, dare I say, giggles, which should not be permitted on any set under my watch? Did you see any laughter or giggles or fun, or was everybody just kind of professional and kept minded to their P's and Q's?
Very professional. I don't remember giggles or anything. They compared the thing that I was flying in. It was made out of a big razor. Actually, that they enhanced it, but it was a razor, and I remember learning that, thinking, no kidding, my God, wow. So no, but other than that, I don't remember any giggles or anything.
All right.
Yeah, then so they bring you back to do which is another kind of hallmark signature of Star Trek, is when they find somebody that they like, they usually bring them back to do something else on another show, or the same show in a different character. And this happened in your case as well. Can you tell us about Voyager?
You guys know Jeffrey Combs?
Oh yeah, good friend.
Yeah, he's an old friend of mine, and he's what, 5 or 6 roles on there, I think.
Yeah, he's been everything.
I just came back and did the pilot of Voyager, which was a great honor. Yeah.
So here is that image right here. That's you as the chief medical officer of Voyager, the official chief medical officer on Voyager's maiden voyage until you and a few others died. There's Lieutenant
Upper right hand
Stoddy.
corner. What's his name? I know this guy.
He played the first officer in that episode. He also died. I don't remember the character name. I can check though.
We did a couple different TV series together, and we were friends. We would go and drink occasionally. Yeah, and I can't think of his name.
While I looked that up, can you tell us any combat training you had? Because there was a little bit of combat. You guys were rolling around. There was Worf was diving on top of you. Riker was. It was crazy. What kind of combat training do you have?
I did quite a lot of it at ACT in San Francisco when I was there in their master's program, and we did a lot of combat training then. But I was a big athlete. I pole vaulted and high jumped and ran cross country. I was and played basketball and all sorts of things. So it wasn't hard for me to do those fights and such. But I did have a stunt double in that fight that you see in the episode at one point. It's not me. It's somebody found that looked like me. So anyway, yes, that's combat training. So yeah.
Wow, so you're a physically fit guy. That came across to me too, because there's moments where you're standing opposite Jonathan Frakes, who himself is a, pretty burly and large guy. But you could tell that, you're holding your own size-wise amongst these guys that are pretty big.
Yeah. And there was a guy in the fight that we had. There's one actor. He was a regular on the show, and he was also at ACT with me. And I can't think of his name because this was 35 years
ago. Worf, Michael Dorn.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, he was at ACT training program. I think the year behind me or something. But anyway, yeah.
Now, how often do
the scene who played the equivalent to Spock? He was in
Brent
Broadway
Spiner.
Music. Brent, yes. Yeah, he was in George, and I never worked with him prior to that, but we both came from the musical theater on Broadway. So, yeah, Brent, right.
So you had this kind of connection with so many different people on that show then already.
Yeah, it helped me relax, and all that. So, yeah.
I'm bummed I still can't find the name of this first officer. IMDb might not have it, but I'm still checking. And we still have you for a few more minutes, Jeff. Can you tell us, by the way, besides all this Star Trek goodness, are you working on anything currently?
I am. I'm going to London on April 27th to play William Kunstler, a role that was written for me in a play called Kunstler. He was a very famous civil rights attorney. And we're going to go and do it there for almost 3 weeks. And then my oldest friend from childhood is coming out. And we're going to Liverpool to explore Beatle country, and all that after that. But I just did a work not opposite, Dolly Parton's, the life story of her. And she was there, and we got along really well. And we took pictures the last day, and she said, "Jeff, I will see you very soon." And it's like, that's what you want to hear from Dolly Parton. So, yeah. All about age 6 all the way up to what she is now, which is she just turned 78. She's an amazingly and doesn't play star or anything. She's just a totally accessible, So yeah, so that's coming the next year or so.
Scott Joek is the fellow that played first officer, who was Lieutenant Commander Javik, was it? Something like that.
Scott Joek, yeah.
Cavett.
That's finding his name. It's been years since I've thought of him. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, sorry, go ahead, Sirach.
No, I just I've seen you in so many things. I remember RoboCop 2. I had to bring that up again, but I loved you in that. Do people ever come up to you and recall your experience on Star Trek, saying, "I remember you from Star Trek"?
Yes, they have several times, and they have technical questions, and I'm like, I don't know. Makes this happen? What makes this? Why does the thing have reverse thrusters and all this? I'm like, I don't know. My department. But yes, people recognize me from that all the time. It's true.
Oh, that's great.
One quick correction. It looks like his Scott's last name is Jayek. Jake, not Joic. It's Jaeck. However you pronounce that.
That yeah.
Well,
Scott Jake,
Jeff, you are extremely memorable. And that's why people come up to you. That's why they say, wait a minute, I know you. Do you ever go to Star Trek conventions and just sit there and just smile and be like, here I am. You guys know, who I am.
Yeah, I would love to do a two, or I thought that they would invite me, and oh shoot, they might have years and years ago, but I was busy doing something else, I think, to go out on a cruise ship or something. I have a vague memory of that, but
that Star Trek The Cruise has just returned. They usually go from the end of February to the beginning of March. This year they went from February 22nd or 3rd to 29th. But that's what it is. So maybe they'll get you next time, the end of February, for the Star Trek Cruise number 8. Maybe it is.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Jeff, this has been really cool. We were talking all about you just in the segment before. We can't wait to talk about you more. What were you saying? Sorry.
You almost called me Scott Jake.
I did. I was, because I still had Scott on my mind, and I was looking at his name and I was trying to figure out how to pronounce it. And I'm like, wait, I need to focus on what the heck I'm doing right here. But yes, you are right, Jeff. But we will never make that mistake again, and we will call you Jeff or Roga, if that's okay with you. Or Lieutenant Commander Cavett. But thank you so much, Jeff. This has been really cool. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. We want to wish you all the best of luck and break as many legs as you can playing your new role, which is a super exciting one, playing a civil rights attorney. And
needs to be done all over America. It's all about civil rights, and with Black Lives Matter and all that, it's more relevant and resonant than it's ever been, especially if you know who is running for the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
I won't mention.
I'm going to pull up the picture of this William Kunstler as well, so everybody can recognize him. This is who you will be playing, and you're right. You do have a bit of an air to you. It's not too far off. So you said you're growing your hair out.
If we ever shoot a film of it, I will
wait a minute.
shave.
That's actually you. I was like, wait a minute. It's actually you.
It's too close.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeff. We really appreciate you taking the time. This has been a lot of fun, and talk with you soon, hopefully. And we definitely hope to see you at a convention or a cruise very soon. Stick around for just a second here. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry.
Send me an email when this is going to be online or wherever it's going to play on television or whatever.
Absolutely. Sure. We'll definitely love to have you watching it. Everybody stick around. We will be right back with a lot more coverage of this awesome episode on the 7th Rule.